Coyotes fans, welcome into another episode of Off the Post. I'm Luke Lapinski, joined by Paul Bissonnette and Shane Doan. Today, we are coming up on about a halfway mark of the season. The Coyotes are on the road here for a while. First of all, though, you check in with Biz and Doaner. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Biz?
I'm doing awesome. I was waiting for you to chime in. Just seniority, man. That's all it is.
See, you're so good. You're so good.
And we should probably mention Doaner's recording this from Stan Wilson's office.
Yes, I am.
Well, I was going to say that's where you spent a lot of your time when you were with the Coyotes, because you and Stan became so close. And I guess that'd be a good way to start off, Luke. How did you guys become so close throughout the years? Was it the connection between maybe like you're going to think I'm chirping you here with the horses and the fact that you guys have a love for horses?
No, yeah, for sure. That was a big part of it. He came my first year. He was the assistant equipment guy in Winnipeg, and then we moved down here and he became the head guy. And it was different then. Like, you were so quiet as a player in the room. Like, you just didn't talk as a rookie. For the most part, I didn't. So the only place that I felt
I didn't get that memo.
for the most part. So then when I would go into Stan's room, because he would talk to me about being from Western Canada, and then we had the horse thing, and I felt so much more comfortable. I got to know the guy. He's just such a good man, and you want to be around people that you, I think, want to emulate. And I love the way he was as a dad and as a worker and everything that he did. So then we ended up spending more and more time together. So
these guys don't even get close to enough credit for the hours that they put in. And that was probably one of the coolest dynamics especially when I got to Arizona, how close all the trainers were. And even at the time when Yuka was around, and how he used to tell stories of how they used to put beers in the bags when they would pack them, and then they would take the charter to the next city. And the trainers, they had to go and pack the bags at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And what you could said it would be like a treat. They would unpack the bag, and the beers would be so cold because they were underneath the plane, that at least they got to enjoy them as they unpacked all the guys' gear. And speaking of trainers, I believe Dave Zanobi just had his 2000th as well, correct?
Yeah, 2000's professional game. It's unbelievable. Like, that's a ton of games. It's crazy. And the hours, like, that's the part that's most amazing, is the hours are like, well, when we get to the arena, we usually get here at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and they've been here at 7. And on a game day, you'll end up leaving at 11:30, and they're still here then too. And if you're flying anywhere, like you said, unloading and loading gear, you fly out at 11:30, you land at 2:30, you unpack the bags and do all that while the players go sleep. Then you have to be back there before the players wake up to make sure everything looks like it's just totally natural again. It's crazy, the hours.
Yeah. And speaking of, Stan he's the equipment manager on the trainer, like the athletic trainer side of it, or what would you say, physical therapy trainer side of it?
Yeah.
The reason that they have to lug so much more hours now is all the paperwork they have to file. But back in the day, it used to be a little bit different, where, if a guy had they wouldn't have to document an injury. They'd usually just say, hey, tape this Advil to it and maybe rub some heat cold on it, and that, send them back out there. But nowadays, it's a lot more goes into it. So I think Stan's probably, is he over 2,500 games now?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy.
Right around 2,500 games. Patty O'Neill with Vancouver, with the Canucks, he's going to hit 3,000 this year, I think. 3,000 NHL games.
Oh my, that's
unreal.
Goodness. So what do you get for that? You get like you get a Mercedes or something. It goes from 1,000 games. You get the watch. 2,000. I remember Doaner. What did you get for 1,500? Didn't you get a saddle?
I got a saddle. Well, no, I got a watch. I got another watch.
Oh, right out of my paycheck, Luke.
Biz had to play for free that month, so Doaner could have another watch. Hey, look, along the lines of the crazy hours the equipment guys work, the Coyotes are on a 7-game road trip right now. I just kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts. And Doaner, I'll start with you. Just what it's like as a player when you're on these extended road trips where you're going to be gone for a couple weeks. I know it's different this year, but a lot of times you'll hear guys say, okay, maybe we kind of just need a change. We go out on the road and we bond and all that stuff. Is there something to that?
Without a doubt, you get a chance to be around the guys just continually, which is good and bad. When you have a great roommate early on, when you had roommates, it was awesome. Had some great roommates, so that was always fun. But you get on the road and you get an opportunity to kind of just connect. It's funny how it sounds cheesy, but when you eat together, it seems to bring you closer together. It's a natural kind of everyone's guard gets let down a bit, and then you can have a little success and you can have some fun too. And there's an element you definitely look forward to and enjoy.
Okay, there's so many different ways we can bring this. So we should talk about how Shane Doan would prepare his pregame meal on the road. Can you please let everybody know how your plate would look? Honestly, he might as well have put it in a blender, Luke.
There was a reason for it, and I loved it.
Well, you got to tell everybody, because it was the craziest thing that I'd ever seen.
Well, it looked really bad at first because I would cover my whole plate in lettuce and like croutons, and then throw in some carrots and like some veggies, and then I would do Thousand Island dressing on top of that, and then I would put the pasta on top of that, and then I would put the meat sauce on top of that, and then I'd usually eat it with some bread, like I'd have a bun or something. It was kind of almost like a Big Mac, only a pasta Big Mac.
Yeah, not like separate, Luke, like on top of it. And another thing too, and you mentioned it also depends on what kind of roommate you get. Now, I remember when I went to under 17 for Team Ontario, because back then it was, I think it still is, broken up. And I was roommates with a guy named Rain Carnegie, who was claustrophobic. So he had to go to the bathroom with the door open, regardless of number one or two. So if you got a roommate who's ripping ass, or who has stinky farts, or is claustrophobic and he has to leave the door open, it could all depend, as Doaner said, who your roommate is. But to bring it to a more serious side of it, I think it's awesome the way it was played out for the Coyotes, because I believe they played 9 straight at home, and now they're on the road for 7. So to me, it kind of, you can't establish your home game or establish your road game if you're constantly, 2 here, 2 there. So I think it works out perfectly, and nice for the Coyotes at the fact that they get to start the trip after being home for so long against a very strong team, where they can get 2 of the games out of the way against Colorado. And it was nice that they could end up mustering a win against a top end team in the league. So I think going on the road for that long is awesome, and it definitely helps guys bond a little bit more when you have new guys on the team.
Go ahead, Doaner.
I agree with that. One of the things that I think is, if I'm going on the road, I would rather go on the road and play games like this, like what Biz saying, like go on 7 days, bang them out, get them done, than going like 1 game to LA, then 2 games to San Jose and Anaheim, and then home again, and then bouncing around, where you get to go on the road, bang them out, get them done, spend some time together, and then get home again. I like that way more.
Those are the types of road trips where usually there's a few guys who are flipping their underwear inside out because they end back a little bit. Doaner was definitely one of those guys with bacon strips on him too.
Oh, hey. The key was to rotate them through your laundry bag.
Oh yeah. Make the trainers do it. That's why you got so close with Stan.
It all paid off. He gets to use his office now to do a podcast in 2021. Who did you guys have for some of your roommates when you first broke into the league? Don, you had some pretty big names, didn't you?
Yeah, I had Mike Sullivan was one that I had for a long time. Sully and I were roommates. He's who taught me the whole political system of the United States, because I was a younger kid at the time, and he was helping me kind of learn the politics and how everything works. And he loved that. So him and I had fun, and our ice cream. Had some really good ice cream. Chris King was my roommate for a little while. Ed Ronan was my very first roommate, and then Damon Lankow was my last roommate. So he was a guy that you have all kinds of other guys kind of rotate throughout that, but those were the guys that. But what was actually some of the best roommates? I had some sick roommates on the road for Team Canada. Those, you have some good times with those when you have. Like when Biz was talking about playing at the
I went to
The
under
YouTube
17. Doaner's talking about world championships with NHL stars. Little dunk on over Biz. Hey, who were some of your roommates, Doaner, at the world championship?
No, I had a ton of good ones, and every single time I had Jonathan Tays, Danny Heatley, Roberto Luongo. Those guys were some fun. We had some good times. So, Danny Heatley is an absolute unbelievable man. Louis was awesome. Roberto Luongo, I had him I think twice. Him and I were roommates. And then Jonathan Tays when he was 18. So I was a captain, and he was a young guy, and they put me with him. And he didn't really understand, like, going to college, you don't get treated like a rookie, like in junior. And so he was like, hey, what's this all about? And him and I have stayed pretty close since. But man, yeah, those are fun. Those are roommates are making a blast.
All his teammates' wives were requesting to get Doaner because they knew there was going to be no riffraff in the room, no after hours, late night partying. Now, Doaner, one of the funny things you told me was one of your roommates early on had a very strict rule as far as when the lights would go off and the television would go off. And Doaner, I'll let you take over.
I had Jimmy Johnson as a roommate, who's now coaching in St. Louis. He's had obviously a lot of success as a coach too, but he was like 35, 36. It's his last year of his career. I was 19, and it was my first year here with the Coyotes. And he would shut the lights. He'd do a big blow, like he'd be like, all right, bedtime, and shut the lights off. And I'm like 19 years old, and it's
non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. And I don't say anything because you're 19. I'm not going to say anything. And it was like 9:30 on the East Coast, which was like 6:30 our time. And I'm like, wait a minute. And then he'd shut the lights off, TV off. So I remember a couple times, and Jimmy's an awesome dude. A couple times I would be in the bathroom in St. Louis because the Union Station Hotel had this little tiny like TV in the bathroom. This is before there was like TVs in bathrooms, and it was like the one that you had to like roll the dial, and I'd be trying to watch the hockey games or those portable DVD players. You remember the portable DVD players came out? I'd be watching.
They were the size of like a tube TV back then.
Yeah,
too.
And I'd be sitting. Well, they weren't that big then. They were little because they were just getting to that point. I would be laying in the bathroom watching a TV, laying in the tub with the towels around me, watching my little TV on there. And no phone, no nothing. He didn't have a phone because there's no cell phones then, or wasn't that popular yet. So,
wow, what a way to break into the league. Let's shift it to the team right now. And Doaner, I know you and I talked about Jakob Chychrun on one of the other podcasts. He's only picked it up since then, though. So I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on what you've seen from him. There's been a few guys that have broken out this season for the Coyotes, but Chychrun in particular, it seemed like he was taking a step last year, and he's just hit a whole nother level this season.
Yeah. I mean, I think his offense and his shot has obviously been so good, and he's been so vital for us. I think he has 90% of all the goals of the blue line right now or something like that, which is incredible. And he's contributing in so many different ways. The way he can skate the puck up the ice and his speed is just, he's such a great skater, and has such a great shot. And it was fun to watch him kind of, it seems every time he has success, he gets more confidence. And as that goes, you hope he can ride that for the entire year, because we definitely need him. And he's been great. And he's a guy that, we're fortunate to have.
Yeah, I would probably just say the confidence is in his shot, especially which he keeps gaining steam on. I mean, we saw it, I believe last year they were using him as that middle guy on the power play even, right? So when you're using a guy in the middle of the ice who's a defenseman as a forward, as that, would you call him, what would you call him, a bumper, Doaner?
A bumper, yeah.
Where he's also got that threat as a shot. And then you saw the other game where he's just walking the line, he can pump fake it. And a lot of similarities, like Cale Makar is probably one of the most elite guys at doing it, but you see flashes in that and his ability to have his head up. He's cocked. He can pump fake it where he can almost drop the shoulder, make the forward bite. I know I would have been hook, line, and sinker. I probably would have been on the ice thinking I had a breakaway the other way. But, because he has his head up and he's moving with such speed and he's able to do that type of thing, he just becomes even more of a threat. So it's been fun to watch. I mean, coming off all those injuries early on in his career, you didn't know exactly what you were going to get. But now that he's been able to stay healthy and continue to excel, man, the sky's the limit for this guy. And his offensive production is just icing on the cake.
I agree with that. Yeah, 100%. And I think that the injuries at the beginning, even when he was in junior, made it so you weren't really sure what you had. And now to see what he's doing is pretty special.
It was cool to watch him document it all too. Like through all of his rehab process. Like I follow him on Instagram. As as an organization, it's nice to see when a guy is going through something like that, how serious he was taking the recovery process, and also to get back to where he needed to be. Like he was hours and hours in the gym with all these different types of training sessions, and it was, you could just tell that he's very serious about his game, and a big reason to why it is where it is.
I agree that it pays off. That work has paid off.
He talks like a coach too. I mean, Doaner, you mentioned Jim Johnson. I mean, do you have players that stood out throughout your career that you were either playing with them or alongside them where you're like, this guy could be a coach when he retires, if he ever wants to?
Yeah, I played with it. As I go through the group of guys that I played with, there's like Rick Tocchet and Mike Sullivan and Travis Green, and those are just the head coaches right off the top of my head that are, actually Ryan Huska, who's in Calgary. I played with him. He's their head coach right now. And as you start going through and you start seeing all the guys that are, you do notice that some of them were like, definitely you could tell, like Talk was a guy that loves, as intense and as driven as he was, he loved the X and O's of it. You look at Mike Sullivan, he was very similar to that. And you see that with guys that you played with, younger guys that are kind of really bought in. And Chick is somebody that, cares enough to know what's going on and understand the systems and different things like that. You start to realize that, that guy, he wants to know more. And those are the guys that I think usually tend to go into that. The guys that want to know more, that aren't just trying to tell you what they want, but are wanting to know and understand what's going on in the systems.
I would say a lot more guys are watching video now too, not just of PK or PP or game structure, of their own individual shifts because of the tablets. And I guess it's just kind of the standard now. Like you can ask Talk. I bet you all the young guys, at least the guys they've extended to these long-term contracts. Like I know Kel, I use the term hockey nerd, and in no way am I being insulting when I say it. They're just like dialed in, and they're learning from their mistakes, and they're constantly being fed all this information as to where they need to be at what, and they're able to apply it to their games. And that's probably another big reason as to why they can articulate post-game interviews, like why things are being broken down the way they have.
And to be honest, in all seriousness, Biz loves to discuss stuff, and you can tell, like even early on, you could see his tendencies and why you do a good job, I think, in the games, Biz, is you wanted to understand guys' thought processes. And he's the guys that ask the questions that are always like, hey, why is this? What's going on? Those are the guys that I think are even more, just do a better job of coaching and doing like the post game and doing everything with analysis and stuff. Those guys that ask questions, and not a lot of guys do. Like some guys just rely on their skill, but I think that was your strength, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it just stemmed from curiosity. And like, yeah. I spent a lot of time. I didn't think I was ever going to get involved in coaching just because of the amount of time and hours that you have to put into it. But, I'd have the best seat in the house, and, I'd kind of be, hearing what Tip was saying and then seeing the players' reaction. And, sometimes you might see a little bit of frustration from one side or the other. And then, after the game or at practice, you just, you ask questions, and the curiosity will eventually lead you to the answer, or at least to what that person was feeling in that moment. And, you're dealing with the world's best at it. So you're eventually going to carve out some type of analysis.
Yeah, Garland's one of those guys. I feel like every time his shift ends, he's looking at the pad on the bench. He's going to be the first guy to bring the pad out there on the ice so he can be watching as he's playing, because he's always like, he doesn't take any time off when he's on the bench. He's always looking at the next play, I feel like.
Yeah, and sometimes that's good, and sometimes that really bothers me.
What, him
like,
watching it
watch
or
the game.
you? Oh,
I
he's
want.
just watching his highlight reels, which I would be doing if I was.
I would be doing that. That part I would be doing. I just
like, can you make it go slow-mo? Okay, yeah, cool. Put some graphics around me. Okay, put some flames coming out of my boots there. Okay, nice.
Yeah. And that's, it's so funny to see the guys, because that is exactly what they do. They get off the ice and they go straight to looking at what happened. I loved coming in between periods watching power play and penalty kill, but I didn't really react. And if I started thinking, as soon as you start thinking, you slow down. So I don't want the players thinking too much about, on 5-on-5, but in a structured setting of a PK or power play, I think it's really, really valuable.
I was getting them to ISO cam the ladies in the front row. I'd be like, hey, give me a couple, throw over the iPad. Let me get a good look over there. I haven't been in the offensive zone yet. I need a better look.
Biz wasn't even watching the game. All right, guys, I think we can wrap it up on that. This is always fun. I know the fans love hearing from you guys and the stories throughout the league. So Doaner, thanks a lot, man. Biz, thanks a lot. We'll see you guys around here as the season rolls on.
That flew by.
That did. Great job, Biz. Battle of Alberta. Wait, can we just mention before we end it? Battle of Alberta? What is that? Come on, tell me what that is.
We made like these concert tour t-shirts for the Battle of Alberta. So it's got all the games they're playing against each other on the back.
No way.
Nice. Yeah, so we got a Calgary Flames one as well. And then we're gonna do the Battle of Pennsylvania. We should do a Battle of the Desert between the Golden Knights and the Coyotes.
I agree. I like that.
We got the Battle of Ontario, but I don't think it's much of a battle between Toronto and Ottawa right now.
The Battle of in the Desert you could call that the OK Corral, because that's kind of the gunfight in the, I don't know.
Call it the 310 to Yuma. Doaner will be all over that.
Well, no. Tombstone is.
Oh, is that the one?
Tombstone's the greatest movie made. I argue it's the best movie ever made.
Him and Stan went to watch it in theaters together.
All right. Well, guys, thanks a lot. This is fun. We'll do it again in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Great seeing you guys. Thanks.
All right, good seeing you, Vince. Thanks, Luke. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Doaner.
See you guys.